Hey, Kris.
Hey, Drew.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast?
Why, yes, I have.
When we were trying to get this podcast off the ground, we had a lot of questions. Like, how do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen to? How do we make money podcasting? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. And best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now just by reading this ad.
Right now?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now.
Right now?
That means if you want to get a podcast going and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. Join me and Kris and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. We can't wait to hear your podcast.
What makes you afraid? Some of all fear lives at the crossroads between our greatest phobias and the horror movies we love to experience. Part pop culture and part psychology. It's time to find out why we're all so scared of the dark.
It's a very full glass of tea.
It is.
Cup of tea.
It's a cup of tea. A bit of a spot of tea.
It's a spot of tea.
It's a spot of tea.
It's very appropriate for our
Pip-pip-a-diddly-o.
Oh man, you just offended all of the British out there.
I know, but that's kind of what our episode's about.
Offending British?
Well, no, like the British being very fearfully offensive to some people.
Yeah, true story.
And a lot of that has to do with the cliches.
Well, I guess we'll find out later on.
Will we?
Maybe.
Might we?
What is going on
I
with
don't
us
know.
this week?
Oh,
What's going on
this last 2 weeks?
I mean, honestly, really, last week wasn't bad. I mean, I just went into St. Patrick's Day weekend, with my normal St. Patrick's Day fervor.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't do too bad. We
were home by 10:30.
The first night we were home by 10:30, and then the second night I think I got home about the same time too, didn't I?
Yeah,
something like that.
Because I came out to check
but
to see if you were
harder.
home.
I played a little harder the second night.
Well, you started at like noon.
Yeah, started early. So when you start early, you can end early.
That's right.
That's how it works.
See, that's what happens when you're Grandpa Reno.
That's right. Start early. That's why I like St. Patrick's Day so much. You can start early.
Why can't you start early any other day?
And I got a tattoo. I got a new tattoo that weekend.
You did
a cool ass,
badass tattoo.
Yeah, it's like a Friday the 13th / Merle Haggard tribute that says "Mama Tried," and it's got the Jason mask so I was pretty stoked. Tommy Crowder at oh my gosh, Authentic Tattoo. Is that where he's at now? He's been at like 4 different places in the last few years, but yeah, he did a great job on it. I was super stoked. I posted it up on our all of our social media and stuff. But this past week has felt like about 3 weeks.
Month.
So that's why we didn't record last week, was because we had like St. Patrick's Day, and then you were leaving early Monday morning.
Right. I was going up to Washington State to do some work up there with my teammates, which was very fun.
Yeah, and we intended to record like last weekend and kind of do those kind of make it a St. Patrick's Day episode, and then it just didn't happen. So we were like, all right, we'll put it off. We kind of procrastinated, and I was a bit hungover that weekend, so we didn't record. And then this week just freaking, I don't even know what's happened.
Leveled our asses.
Yeah, like
Holy
you went off
smokes.
your trip, and your trip was a good.
It was great.
Good trip. The beginning of the week was fine.
It was great up until the descent into Reno. On the flight, the descent into Reno. I'm watching the abduction of Madeleine McCann on Netflix, and I'm just watching it, just minding my own business, and I cough. But when I cough, I start vomiting.
This is right as you're landing, right? Right as you're landing.
Right as we're coming down. So like they've told everyone be in their seats. The stewardesses are in their seats. Everyone is the lights are dim. And all of a sudden I'm vomiting on myself a lot of fluid and a lot of sandwich.
Oh man.
And
that's so brutal.
It gets so worse.
Phobia inducing.
And that, I need to process this, you guys. So now you guys are going to kind of hear the making of a phobia here, and the preventing of one through the processing of one's emotions.
You're in your poor walking boot because you have a broken foot.
Yeah, I'm in my walking boot. I had gotten.
It's hard enough when you're traveling.
I had dressed down in Seattle to some comfy traveling clothes because I was done with business, and I vomited into the boot. It ran into the boot. It ran into it puddled on my bottom. So I didn't realize it until I got into the restroom in Reno, but I guess the vomit had puddled up on my bottom. So right where my bottom sits on the chair, absorbed so
you
much
said bottom,
of it.
So cute.
Bottom.
My bottom.
My bottom. And yeah, everybody, I vomited on myself, and I tried so hard to get the puke bag out, and I couldn't because you had to unlock the little tray table, pull it down, and then pull the puke bag out.
Because you were on one of those.
I was on a prop plane.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were on the small plane.
I was on a prop plane.
Oh, I
and
forgot.
So everyone around me is looking at me.
Yikes!
No one
helped you at all.
Anything.
No one said a word.
No one said.
And I was like,
to me.
I was like, man, I think if there was a young lady traveling by herself and she had puked all over herself, I would have tried to help at least a little bit. The guy next
to me was visibly uncomfortable, and I could see him out of the corner of my eye, texting someone or writing something. And I just, that paranoid thought is oh my gosh,
I can't wait to get off this fucking plane.
So, and the second problem
sad.
is that I would have had my carry-on, because normally when I fly for business, I have my carry-on and that's it.
Right.
So I could have grabbed it and fucking bailed home to Reno, and that just had been it, right? But no, we're taxiing, and I can see everybody, kind of muffling to themselves because it smells like vomit on the plane.
Oh, gosh.
It smells like sick, you just had food poisoning too. So it smells like food poisoning bottom.
Yet, but
it has that food poisoning ugh, smell.
So you were pretty sure that it was food poisoning too, because you had taken a bite of a Subway sandwich earlier in the day,
Seattle,
and it was like,
and I was like,
it didn't taste right.
Something just wasn't right. It wasn't sitting right, so I just tossed it. I was like, whatever. It was $5.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody around me is looking at me as I'm peeling off layers of clothes and trying to wipe myself off and collect this vomit that had accumulated all over me and the floor, while everyone is watching me, and we're taxiing to our gate.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm wearing this tank top.
Every time you tell me the story, it's so sad.
I know. I still have to process it because it still makes me highly anxious. And so I know that I need to talk about it. So here, people, this is how it's done. And so, yeah, I get up. It's my turn, to exit the plane. I quickly exit. I run into the restroom. I kind of clean myself off as best I can. But now, since in Seattle, they had needed folks to check their bags last minute and had offered to pay the bag fee, I offered to check my bag from my business trip.
So you didn't have anything to change into. You had to go
anything
get
to
your
change
baggage
into.
In the baggage claim.
And I had to go stand there at baggage claim with the plane full of people who just stared at me when I threw up on myself. And I'm in a tank top, which is definitely not suitable for outerwear. It was under 2 different other layers of clothing that I had on.
You had no bra on.
I had no bra on.
So the girls were just flying freely in the air.
I had my hair up because I had vomited into my hair because it had come on so suddenly.
Oh my gosh.
And so I had to wait for my baggage and then collect my baggage and walk to my damn car and in my boot that was also covered in vomit. And then I spent the next, 24 to 48 hours laid up from food poisoning. And then we had
that night. Well, that night you came up, you came home, or I came home.
Oh yeah.
I had been out to dinner for my dad's birthday, and you were going to meet us out when you got home, or we had talked about you meeting us out. And then you told me this story after you got in, what had happened. And I was like, I'm going to head home.
And your sister was like, your sister's the flight
dinner
attendant. She's like, this always happens. Don't even worry about it. And I was like,
yeah, she's had people puke on her before more than once.
God bless them, because they are patient people to do that on that kind of a flight. But I have never in my life, there's 2 times in my life that I've felt that intense of anxiety to where I wanted to claw my way out of the airplane mid-flight and just get the fuck out of there, away from all of these stairs. So it's not that I was afraid of flying.
Yeah.
It's that
Now
I
you
was
have that.
afraid.
Now you have that associated. So now next time it's going to be like,
I was afraid of puking on a plane and not being able to escape.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm still really processing that fear. I'm trying my best. My biggest coping mechanism is just laughing at it, because in hindsight, it's a hilarious story, but it also hurts every time I tell it.
Oh man. And then, so we were going to record this weekend. Now it's,
and we had like
it's Monday night. Yeah. So we had like this, like, we were like, all right, we're going to record on like Saturday or Sunday. Baseball got canceled Saturday because it was raining.
Yeah,
and so we had no
great.
practices. So I was like, sweet, we got a lot of time, but I was just feeling funky all day, like just weird. And I had made this pork roast the night before, but we had a clog in our drain.
Sink was clogged.
So our sink was clogged, and the plumber was coming the next morning. So I normally would like wash my hands a whole bunch and like use real hot water and make sure that I clean up all my area and stuff. But because the sink was clogged, I couldn't use as much water.
Right.
And so I was like,
you had a bucket down below that you had to keep emptying.
Yeah, and I was cutting up this big old like pork roast, pork shoulder, and I am certain that somehow I ended up getting food poisoning from that experience, because the next day I was just feeling really funky from. And
about 24 hours later.
It sounded like we had maybe we had a stomach flu, but both of us are pretty convinced it was not a stomach flu. Like there was no other symptoms, and we both had food poisoning really bad before. In fact, like when we first started dating, we had it together one time.
Yeah,
like
we both got it from the same thing, and we're just laying in bed, knowing each other like, I don't know, a month or something.
Yeah, I know, it was early on.
Just shitting our brains out, and it was the worst terrible smell. And this was like that all over again, except for like 2 days apart.
Yeah, except for a couple days apart. Yeah, and it was terrible. So I had about 10 hours of about the worst.
You vomited so hard that you gave yourself whiplash.
Oh, I know. My neck is all sore today. My back, I can barely move. Like my back's all sore. Yeah, it was terrible. So anyways, that's enough of that. I think we've successfully gone through our terrible.
What we mean to say, folks, is we're sorry.
We're sorry it's been 2 weeks.
But it was also kind of necessary.
Yeah, it really was.
It's really,
there were dark forces at work.
Yeah. It's really hard to do a podcast when you have to go make every 5 minutes.
They're trying to make. That's your new favorite word, isn't it?
It is. I love it.
Oh gosh, the Goldbergs.
We've been binge watching it and I love it.
Yeah, there's dark forces at work, I think, trying to prevent us from getting this wonderful information out to you people.
But we will prevail.
I think so. I hope so. We're trying to.
We're doing it now?
I mean,
are we?
We're working on it.
Maybe.
I don't know. We're trying to squeeze this in between like the end of the day and our friend's birthday dinner tonight. That our friend Dave is turning
33.
33?
We're the same age.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right.
But I told him that I'm older than him.
Well, maturity wise, for
sure.
No,
just like I was born a grandma.
Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true too. So yeah, so we had a good, St. Patty's Day. We had we just kind of went into your work week, and then it was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like just all kinds of craziness back to back to back. So
fun shit.
I'm
literally
hoping we get back into a normal schedule again.
Yeah, let's try.
I could really use
some stability.
Some stability.
Amen.
Feels like some stuff's been all over the place. So we still haven't seen Jordan Peele's Us yet, which was our plan this weekend. We had my parents were going to watch The Boys.
I knew you were very ill when you backed out.
Yeah, I backed out. We were going to go see Us on Saturday. And I backed out because I was starting to feel weird. I hadn't been thrown up yet, but I was starting to feel funky. And then all of a sudden when it hit, it was like, holy crap. So we didn't get to go see get to see Us, but it did break. It didn't break, but it surpassed all of the box office estimates.
I already read the spoilers.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Gosh, I hate it when you do that.
Why?
She reads spoilers for everything.
Because I really like to go into a movie understanding what I'm seeing.
See, that takes all of the fun out of it.
No, because then the fun becomes seeing that woven into the story and seeing the different areas and ways that the creators were able to pull that message out. That's what makes it so deep. If you don't catch the message, which that's actually what I've heard from quite a few people, is that they just didn't quite catch what it was.
Then you go see it a second time, and then you watch it again, and then you reanalyze it a second time.
We all have our methods. You have measure twice, cut once.
That's some bullshit. I'm calling bullshit on that. You and your
spoilers. You can't call bullshit on my own personal way of doing things.
I can, and I did.
You
and I
can't,
do.
and-
Because every time I try to introduce her to a movie, I can totally see she's already looking on the IMDb and like the Wikipedia and like reading the synopsis. And I'm like, I'm introducing this to you so that you have some element of surprise and like excitement about it. But she already knows all the like twists and turns by the time.
But the element of surprise is not what I'm after. I mean, it may be valuable to you, but that's not the value to me.
You're not going to convince me.
You're so one-dimensional.
It's wrong.
You're wrong.
It's wrong. It's not right, which means it's wrong.
It's just not right.
So, gosh, yeah, that's a little bit of our catch up. I mean, that's pretty much what's been going on. There hasn't been anything. I mean, it's been exciting, but not exciting. I mean, mostly laying around in agony for most of this week. So, are you ready to get into our fun little game show?
Oh, I thought you were going to like introduce us and remind people to go to the webpage and like all that stuff.
It's been too long. See, this is what happens when it's been a couple of weeks. I forget about these things. Yes. This is the Sum of All Fear podcast. If you've been listening for the last 10 minutes to our ramblings, 14 minutes. Jeez, wow. We've been rambling. Our puke stories. I didn't even get to get into mine that much. You got into yours. Yours was way more exciting because you were on a plane.
Yeah.
Mine was just going back and forth from my bed to the bathroom.
Yeah. The rest of my story was tiny compared to the plane portion.
Yeah, so this is the Sum of All Fear podcast. We are on episode 11.
Woo!
And we're going to be talking about Anglophobia.
Anglophobia.
The fear of the British.
The fear of England.
Of England. Which should be interesting.
And all things English.
If you have been listening to us, we again apologize that it's been a couple of weeks since we've had an episode. But go ahead and check out our social media sites. Check out Facebook. We're at Sum of All Fear Podcast. At Twitter, we're at Sum of All Fear Pod. And at Instagram at Sum of All Fear Pod. You can also send us an email at sumofallfearpodcast@gmail.com. And what else? Follow us. Send us. Rate us, right? That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
Rate us, review us on Apple, on iTunes, on what is it? Switch. What are
Stitcher?
all the Stitcher? There we go. Stitcher, Google Podcasts. What else are we on? We're on a bunch of them. Any place that you're listening to us right now, please review us. Please rate us. It really is helpful. And with that, we are going to get into our game today, which is called What the Fear.
What the fear? What the fear? You say it now.
What the fear?
There you go. Okay, you have to say it like that. What the fear? What the fear? What the
What is
fear?
happening right now?
I don't know. I was singing.
What's going on right now?
That's the What the Fear version of Take On Me.
Don't
ever do that again?
I don't know. I
Sorry.
don't think so.
You can delete that.
It's not going to happen.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, that's definitely not going to happen. Oh, hold on. I got a little kinkling I need to do here.
Little kinkling? Little kinkling?
Everybody says I can hear my glass kinkling.
Mm-hmm. It's part of what is reassuring and reaffirming.
Which is a new word we made up.
Kinkling.
Yeah. We got to up the energy here.
Right.
It's late in the afternoon.
I tried to, and then you really shot me down and out of the air with my Take On Me rendition.
Oh, was that your energy up?
That was trying to be
with some aha.
That was trying to be very uppity with my aha. Aren't they British?
Ooh, good question. I don't know. I would guess Australian, but I could be wrong.
Ooh.
They definitely could be British.
Time for a fact.
We'd have to look that one up. But in the meantime, why don't we play some What the Fear?
Let's do it.
Why not? Let's go ahead and get into this. Get into our favorite. Oh, I didn't even say our What the Fear intro line either.
You're kind of off your game. It's okay.
I'm a little off my game today, but it is time for everyone's phobia-based trivia game. So
everyone's phobia-based trivia.
Everyone's favorite phobia-based trivia game. This is what happens when I try to start a show without having a glass of whiskey first.
Yeah, this is like a polished turd.
No, it's not good. It's not good. Not good at all. You're just gonna have to bear with us this time, guys. Okay. This is just gonna be one of those episodes.
It is what it is.
You're just gonna have to bear with all of the craziness.
All right.
Let's play this game.
So your first word is Cenosillicophobia. Cenosillicophobia.
Can you spell that for me?
CENOSILLICA phobia. Cenosillicophobia.
Did it start with an S or C?
C.
C. Cenosillicophobia.
And your hint is this is you whenever we're out at a bar.
When I'm out at a bar?
Yeah. Or at home.
Or at home?
Yes.
Well, that's the only places that I am.
I know. Good luck.
Ever.
I know.
That's not a good hint.
Have a good time.
Is this the fear of... I mean, I did mention this week that FOMO was not a real phobia. So is this the fear of this isn't the fear of missing out?
No, it's not. No, this would be
because I have a little bit of that.
This would be for sure when we're out somewhere at a bar, you would experience this anxiety or phobic level anxiety.
I would experience this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any phobic level anxieties.
This one's on the spectrum.
The fear of running out of alcohol.
Dang!
Did I really get it?
Yes! The fear of an empty beer glass or alcohol glass. Great job.
Well, since I don't really drink beer, but wow, I got another one right. That's the second
Great
one of all time.
job.
Look at that.
I am really proud of you.
See what happens when I'm clear-minded. When when I'm not fogged by the devil spirits.
Mm-hmm. You mean when you're sober?
It makes me sound like I'm a real drunk on here, but I'm really I'm not that much of a drunk. Not. I mean, I drink a little.
Depends on who you're asking,
I suppose. Yeah.
And what their criteria.
This podcast makes me sound like I'm a lush.
You are kind of a lush, which is different than a drunk.
Lush just means connoisseur of fine adult beverages. I'm pretty sure that's what the definition
of a moderate.
Is. So I got another one right. Is that what you just told me?
Yeah.
The fear of running out of alcohol, of like an empty glass.
The fear of an empty glass.
Yeah, I do have that. You know, my biggest problem is in social situations, I don't like to not have something in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll drink very quickly when I'm when I'm having to talk or like be around like a lot of people at a bar.
And you don't
or
like
at a
an
restaurant.
empty glass.
And so, yeah, I do tend to order and make sure I have something there until I realize, oh crap, I've already drank, 3 glasses.
This is not helping your
because
alcoholic
it's definitely something that I like to have. So you're right about that. There is definitely a component of anxiety there, social anxiety that comes into play for sure.
There is.
So wow, look at that. That's my second one all time.
I'm really proud of you.
That ought to up the energy.
I know. You look so peppy now. Yeah.
I'm pepped now. Look at that.
You ready for a second one?
I'm amazed. I got that.
You can do
one.
this.
Cenosillicophobia.
Cenosillicophobia.
Cenosillicophobia. Cenosillicophobia.
Or cenosillicophobia.
Right. I'm gonna get that tattooed on me next.
Right? Right on your wrist. So you can remind yourself like, oh yeah, this is why I do this. Okay, your next one is hibernophobia. Hibernophobia.
Now that I'm 1 for 1, batting 100. Bat 1,000.
BERNO phobia.
Spell that again.
HIBERNO phobia.
Hibernophobia.
Hibernophobia.
The fear of...
You didn't even ask for your hint again.
Oh, go ahead. Give me a hint.
These folks would likely reside in Northern Ireland if they had to reside in Ireland.
Oh, so is it somewhat related to our topic today? No?
A little bit.
Oh, so are these people afraid of Catholics?
No.
Oh, are they afraid of... I'm confused.
Good.
I was going to say something about sleeping because hibernophobia, it sounds like hibernation, but I guess that's not correct.
No.
I've actually really realized that the roots of these are like, you can't break these down very well.
No, not in the way that you do them though.
The fear of, I don't know. What is it?
If these folks had to live in Ireland, they would want to live in Northern Ireland. Why?
Because they are afraid of the Catholic thing was the only thing I could think of. The fear. I mean, are they afraid of the Irish?
Yes.
But The Irish live in Northern Ireland as well.
I know.
If they had to live in Northern Ireland.
If they had to live
you'd
in Ireland.
You'd feel like they're more, I mean, a lot of Northern Irish just got really upset at you just now by basically inferring that the Irish don't live in Northern Ireland. I mean, that's kind of messed up.
Well, my other original hint was they would hate St. Patty's Day, and I really didn't want you to get a second win that easily. So I was like,
that could have gone way more directions. But the Northern Irish are Irish as well.
I know they are, but if someone with this fear had to live there, there's a lot of British influence.
There's more British influence in Northern Ireland.
So maybe they would feel less fearful since there's that resistance.
Okay, all right.
Maybe it's unfounded comment.
All right,
that's okay.
I can see it.
All right, and your last one is Potnono.
Whoa, say that again.
Okay, I have to. Potnono.
Oh man, this is good. This is good.
Potnonomicophobia. Potnonomicophobia.
Say it faster.
Potnonomicophobia. Potnonomicophobia.
And how would you spell this wonderful word?
Potnonomica phobia.
Good Lord, that's ridiculous.
I can't say it anymore.
The people who make up these names for these phobias,
I know,
are assholes. Most of them, I think. What's my hint?
I like your energy with that.
I'm trying to get my hint first before I try to guess this time.
These people would have really enjoyed Ireland between 1845 and 1849.
Oh man, these people are afraid of potatoes.
Yeah, good job.
That's 2 out of 3.
I know. I made my hints really easy for you.
Those were pretty easy.
So, but
those were pretty good.
I like the energy. So good job. 2 for 3 your first time.
That's good. Actually,
well
I kind of got 3 for 3 because I did say the fear of the Irish the second time, but that was my second guess.
Right. So great job, honey.
Wow. I mean, look at that.
You're doing awesome.
That was an impressive. And I like the way that you tied in your phobias to what the fear phobia is to our big phobia.
Right.
So, with that, let's dig into this fine phobia from across the pond. Anglophobia, the fear of the British. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the plains.
Ooh, I like your accent.
I'm trying to work on it. That's my Anglophobia, My Fair Lady, Eliza Doolittle practicing.
I like it.
So Anglophobia.
What's the root?
So the definition I thought was interesting because it's not really like it is a fear,
right?
But it actually is defined more as a strong dislike,
right?
Or prejudice.
More of a prejudice.
Yeah, prejudice against England or Britain.
An anti-British sentiment.
Right. And I think you could probably plug in any nation into this. You could plug in any people group, right? I mean, these are kind of ethnocentric phobias. But this one in particular is about our good friends over across the pond, the Brits. And it comes from the Latin Anglus, which means English. And to be fair, the British, a lot like the U.S., have done a lot of stuff to piss people off.
Sometimes it's a warranted prejudice.
Yeah, over the years they've done some things to piss some people off, and so
not always unfounded.
When I was going through school, I studied European history and particularly European history from the 1400s onward, which was when Britain really came to power. They really at one point the British Empire was the most powerful in the world, and arguably still to this day one of the most powerful empires of all time.
Well, and that concept of royalty too lends itself to this like higher air,
this grandiose kind of feel. Yeah, but I mean they had a lot of things throughout history, starting very early on. Even we go back to the Henry VIII times and the Queen Elizabeth, and then as they started expanding out of that, and And we see the persecutions of Ireland, and we see these, the Oliver Cromwell stuff, and we see there's so many things in British history that were kind of blights, that were also, also part of their lore, some of this very interesting kind of mythology that's centered around Britain. But then as we got into, these later times, we see this imperialism in the late 1600s.
Yes, I love that word, imperialism.
1700s, this British imperialism, this where they went in and really established,
and lots of colonization,
right? They went around and really forced themselves on these nations, and nation building is what we call it now, which did not make them super popular in the eyes of a lot of places in Africa and in India and in a lot of places across the globe. They were not looked upon very favorably. And we wanted to do this kind of back to St. Patrick's Day. That was kind of our idea, was because of the Irish British.
There's a lot of there's not a lot of sentiment in Ireland.
The Brits and England forcing itself upon Ireland, and those who don't live in Northern Ireland, like you were saying before. There's been this tension between those two groups, and we know the IRA and all of the things that went on when I was growing up in the 80s and early 90s. That was still a huge thing on the news every night. Like Clinton, during the Clinton era, that was a thing that they brokered. They brokered peace between those parties, and there was all kinds of stuff that was going on. And
There's a lot of tension that dates back centuries.
Oh, and it goes back to it literally goes back to the 1400s. It's not even, it goes back many centuries,
and so that sentiment goes and is handed down from generation to generation.
Right.
The beliefs about it are heard and ingrained into each generation that passes. And so that sentiment becomes this kind of intense prejudice or phobia.
Well, and even if you look at early American history and what happened with the colonies in the United States, there was a lot of, we don't think about it now because we're allies with the British, and we've always, we have this friendly thing, but a few hundred years ago, you did not speak favorably of the British after the Revolutionary War. That was, it was a very anti-British sentiment going around the US as well. So all of that history kind of combined, gives a little bit of background to this phobia or this dislike of the British around the world in various different ways, right? So it takes on different forms depending on where you're from or what your experience is or whatever. Right.
Yeah, it's unlike other phobias because it's more of an isolated phobia that's triggered by, let's say, historical events or isolated incidents with people that maybe are passed down by behaviors through the generations, things like that.
Sure.
It doesn't tend to be like a gene focused, like maybe agoraphobia was. So we're looking at a lot of preconceived notions and beliefs that are passed down through generations, on top of the fact that it might be also traumatically ingrained in those brains to think a specific way in order to survive. Excuse me. There's some research that has been done about the relationship that the Irish have with the English and the sentiment towards them on a very deep level, and trying to understand it better. In 2005, Glasgow researchers found out that a patient's condition improves when he deals with the frightening aspects of the country that he's experiencing.
Really? So it doesn't matter. So if you're afraid of people from an Arab country, or if you're afraid of people from wherever,
they found that really educating yourself on that was the best way to reduce the anxiety and the tension associated with it.
Prejudice is a learned behavior that you can unlearn. Obviously, we know that that's a thing.
And we saw that amazing little documentary short on
Sunday morning. Yeah, on CBS Sunday Morning, which we love that show. We're like old people. We're like,
I love it.
CBS
That's my
Sunday
favorite
morning is such a great show.
We sit there and just drink our coffee on Sunday morning. But this is a little tangent, but it has to do with that kind of phobic level anxiety or fear that is transposed as hatred of another society, and what actually learning about that society or culture can
or religion
do.
or whatever it might
be. So this gentleman had these preconceived notions that were passed down by his parents and maybe some personal experiences. And this gentleman on Sunday morning talked about how he had actually gone to such lengths as to plan his attack to place bombs at
a mosque,
at an Islamic mosque.
Right. This was a good old boy. This was like a kid a guy who had been raised, I believe in the South, and he was
this is what he was taught.
He was a military man that had been over in a Marine.
He probably
in
had
Iraq,
some bad experiences
overseas, and experiencing these things, and felt like it was his patriotic duty, right? Like to with this whole thing in New Zealand, we this is all hits very close to home right now. We weren't going to dig into this too much, but I think this really does illustrate that point that, and so anyway, so he decided
before he was going to do this, he was going to go into this mosque and he was going to learn. That was what he said. He said, I'm going to go.
He had said something around his daughter, and his daughter gave him that look like, wow. He said something really hateful around his daughter, and his daughter gave him that look like I don't
understand that level of hate or that level of fear.
And so it broke his heart, and he realized, hey, maybe I should try a different tactic first before I go annihilate these people.
So he goes into the mosque and he starts to learn. And the more he learns, the more he feels connected to it. And he becomes, I think he said a year later, he became a Muslim.
Yeah.
And now he's the president
of that
mosque and one of the main speakers of the mosque and representatives. And his story is powerful and moving if you haven't seen it. But how that relates to this Anglophobia is what we see of this pattern of behavior, of this pattern of thinking and believing, is that it seems to stem from a really subconscious overprotective mechanism. And as with such can be rooted in really severe unresolved emotional conflict, right?
And that seems like it stems a lot from kind of, I don't want to say traumatic experiences, but experiences where, for example, 9/11 kind of kicked off a lot of that Islamophobia, right? Or
just seeing that event happen.
So if you were in Ireland under a lot of British oppression, or if you were in India, or if you were in any of these African countries or whatever, under a lot of British oppression or British rule, where you saw things happen with their soldiers, with their whatever it might be, that could start this thing in your life.
That could create a phobic level reaction, or just that anxiety or fear reaction associated with anything that has to do with that particular culture. And what's really unfortunate is these are often guided by isolated incidents or incidents that are very narrow in terms of the broader spectrum of the population, or just really misguided feelings and beliefs that may have been handed down by other people. And so learning has been the best way to reduce that anxiety about really what we're talking about here is that fear of losing control, right? If we go look at the base of all of this, we're afraid of another culture or of another people. We're afraid of England because they're big and they're powerful, and they have influence, and they could take us over, and we could be forced to be something that we don't feel we are. Maybe we look down on it because of, cliched things that we see in British culture, or
and again, it works for all of these cultures,
right? Exactly.
It's not just British. That just happens to be what we're talking about.
Right.
Is Anglophobia, but it's literally, that is what stems from all of our cultural whatever you want to call it, cultural prejudices, racial prejudices. All of those things come about from this fear, this undergirding fear that tends to be passed on from generation to generation. Not always. It can definitely be a learned behavior too, or a learned thing that you
or an
end up,
observed,
or you end up just developing because of an experience, or developing
Right.
because somebody from that culture did something to you, or did something to your family, or did something to your culture, or
Right.
whatever it might be.
And just as with any phobia, where it becomes problematic, where you should seek some real guidance, is when you feel like you might injure yourself or other people because of this thought or this belief. You know, not that they're going to tell you that you're wrong for what you believe, but the level of that reaction really indicates that something emotionally charged is going on, and it must be important, because it's important enough for that person to consider injuring someone else over it.
Sure.
So let's address it in a way that takes that aspect out of it, but still validates what's going on for that person, right? Because it's a misguided action.
Sure.
Um,
As
and
are
so-
all of, as are any of these kinds of racially
Right.
or ethnically motivated kind of fears, or, you know,
right.
when you get to, and a lot of it is once you are surrounded by those cultures, or spend time getting to know them, or getting to know them better, those things kind of melt away. And there's definitely a way to get yourself to get beyond these kinds of prejudices, or these kinds of phobias, or whatever you want to call them, preconceived notions.
Because
it's weird calling it a phobia, because it's not really
really
normally
a phobia, but that's the vernacular.
Right.
And we felt like it was really important, considering today's climate, to just address it in terms of what is behind it emotionally, possibly, what can we do about it? And also we started to explore on the back end, the opposite spectrum of a phobia.
Well, is there anything
right?
else about, so hold on, before we get into that, because I'm interested in that, in where you're going with this, but I do want to, is there anything specific about Anglophobia? I know we're kind of diverting into this, going exactly where I said we weren't going to go, which was getting deep into the ethnic.
It's important to acknowledge.
Absolutely, it is, and honestly, like right now, especially in the United States, where we have, well, around all of the Western world, we have this white nationalism stuff going on, and we have the Islamophobia going on, and then you know, you go across the world and you go to some of these Arab countries, and you have crazy genocides going on of different religions and different nationalities, and it's a major issue across the globe. And I don't want to take that lightly. I wasn't trying to try to steer away from that. It's a major issue. And you know,
we're not going to solve it on this podcast.
No, we're not going to solve it on this podcast for sure. Like, there's no doubt about it. But I think anything that breeds hate or violence is a problem. You know, I think anytime you have the far right side calling for violence, that's ethnocentric, and you have the far left side calling for violence to solve and combat that, you have a problem. Like,
when we're at the point of injuring self or others
there's a
problem. An idea or a belief, that's something that's valid and needs to be addressed.
Yeah, it's not good. And you know, this goes back to, you know, I think it goes back to what we always talk about, our moderation views. You know,
middle
we're
of the
big
road.
on the via media, the middle road is what we've always talked about, writing a book about it, because
I need to get a tattoo of that.
Right. I mean,
it's something I have to constantly remind myself.
Moderation, man. Moderation,
finding
politics,
the middle
moderation,
of the road,
in
kind of in everything.
In everything in life is important. You know, your ideology is moderation is really important, and it's something that we need to find in the United States again, for sure.
Right. But with regards to like Anglophobia specifically, this is something that we've seen, like you said, for centuries in history. This fear, hate, disdain, disgust, you know, all of these real base reactions against a specific group or nation. So against the British, who were powerful, who held a lot of influence, who continue to hold a lot of influence, you know, and for countries like Ireland specifically, who were, you know, they were rife with,
there was a lot of fuel.
Heads.
There was a lot of fuel
for that fire.
Absolutely.
Right? So researchers went in, and they
still is. I mean, it's not over
yet.
I mean, it's
not
still
over
ongoing.
Yet.
In fact, it's kind of ramped up in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Again.
George Orwell even said, Welsh, Irish, and Scottish nationalism have points of difference, but are alike in their anti-English orientation. So it's not something that's
the Scots, the Welsh, and the Irish may not all get along. but they definitely unite on the fact that they all dislike the British.
Yeah, and
or dislike the English, I should say.
In a 2017 survey, half of the Brits living in Scotland said they'd been harassed or discriminated against by Scottish people.
Oh, that's funny.
2017.
Wow.
So we're talking real heavy nationalism.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's still
a
very strong.
big deal. It's a very, it has wide-ranging implications. The other research that I wanted to mention was that 700 Irish were polled as to why. What's the root of what they hate? And I talked earlier about how that hate often comes from cliched ideas of the culture or a overgeneralizing of people,
which we always love to
nation,
do. Right? That's where all the stereotypes come from. Right.
I love the song. This is a little tangent. I love the song on Crazy Ex-Girlfriend called "Let's Generalize About Men," and it's all this topic. It's just generalization about men after generalization, and that's kind of what we see in this research is the generalization of this hatred, which includes a real disdain for soccer hooliganism, which I get it's a British thing, but it's also a Spanish thing.
It's an Irish thing and an Italian
thing and an Italian thing.
Lithuanian thing.
It's every potato and tomato piece of Europe thing. So, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, it's not distinctive of
does not
of
compute,
Although they may take it a little more hardcore. I know.
Right.
They definitely like their brawls.
I don't know. I've seen
the riots.
I've seen the Mexican riots where they behead and quarter people.
That's South America.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that was in somewhere in the Amazon. But yeah, I mean it's pretty gnarly everywhere.
They also hate Brexit. That was one of the things. 44% said that they hate the British because of Brexit.
Oh, really?
The other highest rating was arrogance. They perceive the British as generally an arrogant people.
Well, and that's the thing. So that was something else I was going to mention is and again, to be fair, the British have always had this little air about them too that has always been easy to make fun of.
Hey,
and to,
I never said
and to get pissy about
that some of these weren't valid, because some of them are. It's just the reaction.
Yeah, the pretentiousness. The British pretentiousness is a real thing. So there's no doubt about that. There's definitely but again, that's the stereotype.
But it's also,
and I spent a lot of time. Not a lot of time, but I've spent some time in England.
Yeah, you spent time backpacking through Europe while listening to Coldplay.
Shut up, Coldplay was popular.
Second most pretentious thing you've ever said.
And actually, the lead singer of Coldplay, whatever his name is he's an extra in the movie, in our movie today.
Oh, that's fun.
Just so you know.
Oh, fun fact.
There you go. Fun fact. That's another Easter egg for you. Kris, what's his name? What is that guy's name?
I don't know. You're asking me a name? That's wrong.
But yeah, I mean, when I was there, I mean, there's definitely that. There's just like anywhere else, like some of those stereotypes absolutely ring true, and some of them
are
you're like,
way
they're not
expanded.
Way off. They're just expanded. They're just are what they are. There's a little bit of truth mixed into every stereotype, and that's why I think we're in a culture, especially in the United States, where we just overreact to every little thing that's mentioned about any culture, about anything, which is just ridiculous, instead of just taking them as they are and kind of talking through them and trying to figure out where the root of these things come from, laugh about it and move on.
We're kind of stuck in survival mode. And this is my opinion. We're kind of all stuck in survival mode. Fear of an ever-changing environment that we don't have any sort of control over in terms of our national security, maybe.
National, yeah. I think we're also in a global world where things are changing so quickly. There's so much.
We hear so much from other sides of the world all the time that we're actually connected, and we feel their instability too.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually.
So yeah, some of this Anglophobia or just phobic nationalism in general could be a projection of our insecurities.
Absolutely. For sure.
If you really want to whittle down how larger globalization might feel in terms of the colonization effect and the colonization fear. Think about what it was like when, did you ever have a girlfriend who kind of slowly started moving all of her shit in and then was kind of moved in, and then you noticed she was kind of changing things around or anything like that?
No, I just married him.
You just married him?
Yeah.
That's right. I should know that. Well, okay. So harken back to a time when you were married, the first time then, and think about how you guys went through the process of...
I understand the concept you're trying to get at
Right.
here. The concept is that slow move, that's slowly
Right.
kind of taking over
Right.
your space.
Someone moves
and
into
you have
someone
that, you have
else's
that fear
house,
of
right?
like, oh shit, somebody's, this is really encroaching on
Right.
my,
even if it's
on my territory.
Even if it's voluntary, if someone moves all of their belongings into what I have kind of subconsciously considered my space, and then begins to change things or add things to my space, that causes a natural anxiety of colonization.
Yeah,
that's what it's called.
That's on a micro level, very much the same thing.
Yeah.
That's a really great analogy.
Yeah, and so that's a primitive survival mechanism, right?
Now, sometimes it's not a slow, gradual moving in. Sometimes it's I'm breaking down your door and I'm going to...
Right, exactly.
I'm not going to just leave my toothbrush here, but I'm going to...
But that's the point. I'm
going to stick you over in the corner and I'm taking over the rest of the house.
Right. And that's
British imperial. That's imperialism in general.
Is imperialism in
right?
general and colonization in a nutshell. And that may be what some of these nations that experience that real deep Anglophobia may be projecting, that insecurity of you're going to leave your toothbrush and then the next thing you know, you're moving your fucking couch here.
Yeah.
And you're staying.
And again,
and then your mom's sleeping over.
And we might also stick you in a cage over in the corner, and we're
you
just
might be
taking
in the
over
basement.
your whole house.
Yeah. So
that's which, I mean, if you look at like U.S. U.S. and Native American relations, you look at like the way
right.
So some of that
we
stuff
see a lot of crossover, but I mean, even on just a one-on-one basis, we can see this in our everyday interactions. So imagine that on a billion people level, and imagine that kind of anxiety.
Yeah.
Pulling that forcefulness of this belief system, and causing tunnel vision where you
can't see that culture in any other way.
No, you just
see them as those military people who came in. Or you just see them as you couldn't
all
go
of
into
the facts that you want to see, that confirmation bias that
Sure.
that make your belief true, and everything else doesn't really matter. It's kind of fuzzy.
And that's what we do a lot of times. We see them just as their government, or just as their most extreme. We see people in their cultures as just their most extreme properties, the most extreme people that come out of those cultures, instead of seeing them as the families,
whole.
The small people, the people that live back home that aren't interested in messing up your life or your family or your culture. And so when they just see them as imperialistic rulers, when that's not the entire people group, that's just a segment, or that's just the government, or that's just this, right? And I think that's a lot of the benefit of kind of standing back and looking at these things in a broader and talking about them like this, right? Is kind of, coming to that understanding that we need to see these types of things in a much more
psychosocial way.
Yeah. In a more social, yes. I don't know. I can't even think of what I'm trying to say, but we have to
take the sociology into account, as well as the biology and the just anthropology and how groups interact and blah 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 blah.
So we talked about we want to kind of start instituting something a little bit different,
right?
Into these phobias. We want to start talking about not just the phobias, but also the philias.
Right. So the other side of it, the
phobias are the
opposite.
fear of something, and philias are the obsession with,
the intense affection
intense affection for. So I thought that'd be kind of fun, right? We're not just going to talk about the people who are totally afraid of these things. We also want to talk briefly about some of these things from the other perspective, people who are obsessed with, which I think is kind of funny with Anglophobia, because there's definitely Anglophiles out there.
There are so many Anglophiles. I mean, think about Madonna, who went to London and then suddenly had a British accent for like 3 years.
Yeah, that was an episode of How I Met Your Mother too.
Right.
Where Lily started talking in a Cockney accent for until they had an intervention.
Right. And so the philia, Anglophilia, or an Anglophile, as they would be called, have this intense obsession or love for all things English. So we've got the Anglophobes who hate them. Then we've got the Anglophiles who love them on the other side.
And are just obsessed with them.
And they're just
and there's so much
them.
British, like, especially in the United States, I think there's so much British television and British movies and, you know, so many different things that could kind of spur that on, I would think. Music. I mean, think about the punk rock movement, the punks in the 70s, with the Sex Pistols and with the, you know, with all that stuff, with the Clash.
Music, culture, Doctor Who, Harry Potter, Elton John, Adele.
I said the Sex Pistols. Sex Pistols weren't British, were they?
They were.
Weren't they New York?
No, they were Sex Pistols.
Oh, they were British.
They were Sex Pistols.
The Clash
the
was
Kinks. Definitely. You know, there's a big romanticized view of British culture. You know, we think of the cliches that we talked about earlier with the phobias. Now let's turn that around and get super fucking obsessed with them and talk about how the Great British Baking Show is amazing and what happened on Downton Abbey. And
oh yeah, there's all those shows.
You know, the fondness for the English class system, English spelling and pronunciation. Even if you're not a part of that culture, there can be an intense fondness for all things English.
What about the royal weddings?
The royal family.
Think about the royal family. And the
oh
royal
my God! Did you see how many people
get so obsessed with that shit?
People throw royal family parties in America, and so that just shows you that you don't have to be a member of that nation to become obsessed or very, very fond of a specific nation or group. You know, the Union Jack obsession was huge. Let's talk about the cliche of tea and crumpets, or the cliche.
They said Tichet.
Tichet.
Is that a word?
We made it one.
Tichet.
Tichet.
Is that a British?
Is that a
British cliche? Is it
Tichet? That's right.
It's not really a cliche though. I mean, they really do love their fucking tea.
It's a thing. But also there are Anglophiles who will go on British vacations and seek to specifically do, you know, the fox hunting. And they consider Britain really is just London only. They don't know the totality of the people. They just know this like one sector.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that, you know, that transition from philia to phobia isn't far off. You can hate something and then quickly come to love it, like we saw with the Islamic president that we talked about earlier, of that mosque. So
it happens.
It's really interesting. There are also several Anglophilia podcasts, and really, when we think about the Anglophilia, Meghan Markle really renewed the wetness in the panties of every American Anglophile, I think.
They all want to be the princess.
The princess.
Yeah, I like it.
Princess royalty. Pip, pip.
Wait, what did you just say about Meghan Markle's wet panties?
I said that Meghan Markle really renewed the wetness in the panties of every American Anglophile.
That's got to be one of your quotable quotes from this podcast.
No way.
There. That's awesome.
It took me a little bit to think of that one.
I've got a little bit of that. I've got a little bit of an obsession with British culture and definitely British history. Like, I've always been obsessed with British history, and I love the way in which British history has kind of defined Western culture too.
Right.
And, like, there's so much there. It's really interesting. It's fascinating to see how they became such a superpower, you know, and really,
there's a lot to admire.
Oh, I don't know about admire, but it's just interesting. It's always fascinated me, you know, their influence on the world. And I think, you know, you look at whether it's the British influence on the United States and United States influence on the world now, we look at everything in a vacuum because we live in a certain period of time. You know, if you lived in the 1600s, you would view the world very differently.
Oh, yeah.
If you lived in the 1800s, you would view the world very differently. We view our world through our own stupid ass lenses of where we are right now. And so everybody who thinks that you have a major cause that is just the most important thing in the entire fucking world, you're wrong, because you live in a very small speck of time in the universe. But I always think it's fascinating when you look at cultures through their historical lenses. I've always, that's my thing. History is my thing. So I really enjoy kind of analyzing these things through those lenses. And I do have a kind of a fascination with Britain, as I do a lot of other cultures too. But British culture is really interesting, and I can definitely see why people become Anglophiles. It's definitely a fascinating history.
Well, I have to holla out to my best girl, Eat Schmidt, because she and I have our favorite movie, Love Actually. Which
That's right.
Is a definitive British impact.
Love Actually is your favorite Christmas movie.
Christmas movie
every year.
Every year
You have to watch.
Yeah, it's sappy.
I enjoy it. That's
you
fun.
proposed to me with the slideshow from there.
Oh, that's right. I did, didn't I?
You did.
Damn, I'm good.
You are so good. That's why I said yes.
I forgot about that. That's the only reason.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only reason.
Could you think of another?
Now you're regretting that decision.
Ah, shame. No.
Oh man. So Anglophobia and a little bit of Anglophilia.
Yeah.
Mixed in there.
Anglophobia and philia.
So I gotta say, I don't have any honorable mentions today.
Not this time.
We're just gonna do one main movie.
Because it's the best movie.
It is.
I love it.
But I could have dove into a ton of British stuff. I mean, there's so much stuff. Hellraiser is British. American Werewolf in London. 28 Days Later.
American Werewolf in London would have been an interesting one.
Yeah.
But why did we choose this one?
Don't Look Now is another one that would have been really good. All of the Hammer horror films, which were all the Christopher Lee, like Dracula's and all that stuff. Those have a huge place in like horror history and stuff. But I think we need to get a little more fun, a little more lighthearted for this one. So we picked this week one of my favorites, one of your favorites. You actually really enjoy this one, which is good. I always like that.
I love this one. I always like it when much.
We have a movie that a horror movie that
it tickles me pink.
It's a great one. So we're gonna talk the 2004 British zombie comedy.
Ooh, Anglophobes beware.
Shaun of the Dead for our feature presentation.
And now our feature presentation. Do you ever think that modern life is not for you? Do you do the same dead-end job every day? Is your love life dying on its feet?
To a wonderful mum.
Oh, have you ever felt that you're turning into a zombie? Maybe you're not alone.
He said.
Although no one official is prepared to comment, religious groups are calling it Judgment Day.
It is vital that you stay in your homes. Avoid all physical contact with the assailants. So, what's the plan? Bash him in the head, that seems to work out. Why have we got to go Lizzie? Because I love her. Alright, okay. Wait there. Hold it there.
Hello, pickle.
That's like your favorite line in this entire movie, isn't it?
The whole thing. And it's not even really a line.
No,
I just kind of Mrs. Doubtfired it myself.
And it's not Mrs. Doubtfire in the movie.
No.
When I rewatched it, like I always think in my head,
regular.
it's supposed to be like, hello, pickle, like full on Robin Williams, like, but it's not. She's very subdued. She's like, hello, pickle. So it's much more like
very
that.
Very proper, very British.
Much less Robin Williams.
I prefer the Mrs. Doubtfire version.
Hello, pickle.
Yeah, that's much more like suffocating momish.
Which is actually what Edgar Wright's mom actually called him growing up.
Pickle.
Yeah, that's where he got that from. So it was direct, and this was Shaun of the Dead is our movie this week.
Do you think that he got called pickle because gherkin was too much of a mouthful?
Hello, Gherkin.
Gherkin.
I don't think that works as well. Hello, Cornishin.
Hello, Cornishin.
I don't think those work.
No?
No.
Hello, cucumber. No, pickle definitely sounds best.
Pickle's a good one. Yeah. No. Yeah. So the director, Edgar Wright, that was his actual nickname that his mom
Pickle.
gave him when he was a kid. That's why that ended up in the movie.
Gherkin.
Yeah. Not Gherkin.
Gherkin.
Not Cornichon.
Cornichon. Cornichon.
Cornichon.
Cornish hen. It sounds like his
No.
nickname was Cornish hen.
Cornish hen.
Cornish hen.
You're my little Cornish
Oh,
hen.
my little Cornish hen.
That'd be a very pretentious nickname, I think.
I would. My little gray poupon.
Oh man, Shaun of the Dead, 2004, directed by Edgar Wright.
Such a favorite of everyone.
Starring Simon Pegg,
Mhm.
who co-wrote, is one of my freaking favorite horror movies. Horror comedy. It's definitely my favorite. I think it's my favorite horror comedy movie. For sure. I've definitely watched it more than any other one. That's for damn sure. I love it.
It's called a zomcom.
Zomcom?
Zomcom.
Is that what it's called?
Zombie comedy? Zomcom.
Zombie comedy. And it was way ahead of its time, really. I mean,
It might even be a zom rom-com.
These it is kind of a zom rom-com.
But it's not a zom prom
is.
rom-com.
It's a zom mom rom-com.
It is a zom mom rom-com.
Did we just
Zom mom rom-com.
mind blown right now.
Yeah, earlier I couldn't say nomophobia.
Nobody can say that.
And now
Nobody can say that because people who come up with phobia names are assholes. We decided that's the
we
reason.
did.
Yeah, they just like to make fun of people trying to pronounce the names.
I mean, I don't blame them, do you?
No, I mean, that
It's
sounds
pretty
like fun.
entertaining. But so is a zombie mom rom-com.
Zombie mom rom-com. Zom mom.
Zombie mom prom rom-com.
No, there's no prom. There's no
But it
prom
could
in
be.
there. You could. I mean, they'd have to add another scene.
Could it be a zombie mom dom rom-com?
Ooh, dirty.
Ooh.
That sounds sexy.
Ooh, behave. Yeah, that's the porn version. Shaun of my butt.
which I'm sure that's there somewhere. Shaun of the bed.
Shaun of the bed. Oh my god. So good. Good job. That's brilliant. We're gonna make that.
At first that was dong of the bed, but that
Dong
doesn't
of
work
the
as
bed.
well.
Eh, I like the implications of Shaun of the bed.
Shaun
Like,
of the bed.
It's very, I don't know. I just like it better.
So Shaun of the Dead is a great movie.
Has anybody not seen that movie?
I'll give a quick synopsis. I'm not going to break it down too much because you guys have all seen it. This movie's been around for a long time, and if you haven't seen it, I mean, you've got it.
Do
you
it.
just need to go do it right
Do
now.
it now. Drop what you're doing.
Because it's fantastic.
Are you a heart surgeon listening? Drop
Yeah.
what you're doing. Go watch.
It's literally
Shaun
one of
Dead.
the start to finish. It probably is one of the most well-crafted movies that like has so many references upon references and things that you don't even realize are like
and Easter eggs
are like
and
foreshadowing and stuff in the background.
Name
Nothing
dropping.
in this movie, nothing Edgar Wright put in this movie or him and Simon Pegg was on accident.
No, it was very
Like
intentional.
everything was intentional.
And that's
Like,
what makes it
everything
so
in the
brilliant.
background, everything in the foreground,
The names.
everything, names of it's so good that way. And I love movies like that have so much that they just put so much thought into every single scene. It's just so great. But basically it stars Simon Pegg as Shaun, who lives in a London flat with his business, successful roommate, and then his slovenly roommate, Ed. And he's supposed to be 29. I've always kind of pictured him in his mid 30s, but apparently not. Apparently he's supposed to be in his late 20s, but
Would you like to talk about how
I'm projecting
you're
onto
projecting
Shaun.
and personalizing?
and Sean, just
you-
getting his life together.
Can
in
you
his
tell me more
mid-30s.
about how you feel like you are just now getting your life together, or maybe don't have a handle on getting your life together?
I think I started moving that direction in my early 30s. I think I'm on a 10-year plan right now. I'm in about year 5 and I'm doing good.
Whoa, you're halfway there.
Right?
I thought you were gonna sing something when you just
No.
said it right.
No. I wasn't going to sing anything. Nothing at all.
Aw.
I just wanted to let your Bon Jovi float out into the universe
Oh man, thanks for letting me
for
do
the
that.
world to enjoy. But basically, Shaun's living this like kind of immature life. He's working at a shitty job.
Would you say that he's living on a prayer?
No.
No?
He's living a he's living a shitty life. Working at this electronics store, and his girl breaks up with him because he can't get his shit together.
That bitch.
And he's hanging out with his immature, oafish roommate. And he kind of has the same routine every day. We have this, there's this theme in the movie where everybody's just kind of walking through life, and you see all the people, and Shaun
nobody's
just
really living. They're all
Shaun
just kind of the Walking Dead.
They are kind of that's the whole theme, right? They're kind of zombies before they're zombies, and so Shaun ends up, hanging out at the Winchester bar all the time, and every morning he goes to the liquor store and gets his normal, hangover cures and his whatever, and just kind of walks through life, not noticing what's going on around him. And then Liz breaks up with him, his girlfriend, and he goes in and him and Ed get drunk at the Winchester bar, which is his hangout. And then the zombie apocalypse happens around them. And they don't even realize
hungover.
Yeah, they don't even realize it. No, it happens the night. I mean, it's happening that day. It's happening the day that he breaks up.
Because it happens
it's a process, right?
At the Winchester that night.
That night when they're at the Winchester, there's zombies. And when they're going home, there's a zombie walking down the street, and they don't even realize
I mean,
it.
Honestly, we've all seen Reno around 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It looks like the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, Reno, 4th Street in Reno. Last night we were at
that
dinner.
was like 8 p.m. too.
Yeah, it was like 8 p.m.
Holy smokes.
And it was zombie time all over the place.
Yeah, it was.
Meth is a really terrible drug, people.
It really ruins
bad.
lives.
Yeah, not good. So anyway, he wakes up the next morning and he is hungover, goes to the liquor store just like normal, and the world around him is already an apocalypse and he doesn't even see it.
And you can see some of the clues, but he is just so inwardly focused and so in himself, in whatever he's experiencing, that he honestly is not processing the world around him.
Well, he's also extremely hungover, passed out in his kitchen.
We've all been there.
So he goes to get his, he goes to the store to get his cornetto for Ed, which is a little ice cream.
He didn't go get a cornichon?
No cornichon. No, he gets his cornetto ice cream, which I didn't realize this, but I guess there's a trilogy, the trilogy of movies with Hot Fuzz and The World Ends or whatever that movie is, that are also Simon Pegg, Edgar Wright movies. That's called the Cornetto series or like trilogy, because cornetto, I guess, was Simon Pegg's like hangover cure in real life. And so they put those in all 3 of those movies, and that became like the little Easter egg deal.
Well, crikey, that's fun.
Yeah. Crikey is Australian.
I think. Well, I mean, they were British.
Yeah. Were they the?
What? They weren't they British prisoners?
Well, yes, they were.
So I'm not wrong.
I mean, they're still Australian.
I'm just loosely wrong.
couple centuries wrong.
A couple centuries off. Whatever. I have an old soul.
So then they end up going they go get his mom, and then we.
There's the mom part of the Zomrom mom-com.
The hello pickle.
Hello pickle.
Hello
pickle.
And they get the girlfriend. They get the pretentious
Robin Williams,
friends.
by the way, did a little bit more like hello. He had like a little inflection. Anyways, go.
So they end up going back to the Winchester. To they make their way through the neighborhoods, fighting off zombies. Go back to Winchester. In the end, the only ones that end up surviving are, spoiler alert, are him and Liz, and they get rescued in the end, and it's all good. And we have this great Shaun basically goes from being this kind of guy who doesn't have his shit together to being like
the hero,
kind of the hero that kind of learns to be a man, right? He
develops very rapidly in this movie.
So most of us have seen it. Not going to break it down any more than that. But this movie has so many amazing Easter eggs. I've watched this movie like a dozen times and did not know how many amazing little Easter eggs. A few of them I had picked out in the past. But man, there's so many freaking awesome little Easter eggs in this movie.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I will. Right now. Right now. As I pull up my notes.
Right now.
Fulci's is the name of the restaurant that he does not get a reservation for Liz that he's supposed to get.
Oh.
He's supposed to get a reservation at Fulci's restaurant, which is an homage to Lucio Fulci, the godfather of gore,
what an
Italian
homage.
director. who did City of the Living Dead and The Beyond, which are two awesome, gory, fun Italian.
Zoms.
There's zombie stuff in them, yeah. City of the Living Dead for sure. The Beyond has, I guess those are zombies too. Demons, zombies, yeah. When they call his mom.
His mom.
Yeah, and they're gonna go pick her up. She's fighting that
No,
they don't want to leave. We're fine. We'll just be fine here, you know.
No, we're fine. No,
And,
don't come get us.
Ed finally says, "We're coming to get you, Barbara."
We're coming to get you, Barbara.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
So a great Night of the Living Dead reference, which is awesome.
That's pretty good.
Well
placed.
So we picked this to be our Anglophobia movie just because it was fun, and I just wanted to find a cool, fun British movie. When this one's my favorite.
And if you're an Anglophobic, you probably wouldn't watch it. And if you're an Anglophilic, you would absolutely love this movie.
You would, and you would have loved it more.
Be Anglophilic because of this movie.
You would have loved it more had it been titled the original title that they came up with. Okay. It wasn't originally titled Shaun of the Dead. The original working title was Tea Time for the Dead.
Oh.
Tea Time of the Dead. Sorry. Tea Time of the Dead.
Oh, can you imagine that byline?
The most British of all.
It's tea time, cunts.
You can't say that. That's the C word.
I know, but
the British say it all the time.
Really enjoy saying that.
They do. They say it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's like their dude. Like, dude.
Yeah, except for way worse.
Well, depending on where you are. You love that word.
I do not.
You do too.
I never use it.
Sure you do.
Except for when I need to.
When would you need to?
When they deserve it.
When do they deserve it?
When they're cunts.
Oh, gotcha. That makes sense.
Don't be one, and I won't call you one.
That makes sense. Hey, an appropriately placed C word,
I don't throw it around freely.
It's not a bad thing.
Mm-mm. No, it's a well-placed grenade.
But Tea Time of the Dead is about the most British of all horror movies.
I love it. I kind of wish that would have actually happened.
Yeah, me too. I'm kind of sad.
How would that translate?
But it wouldn't have been as an homage to Dawn of the Dead. So that's
Tea Time of the Bed would be the porn version.
Tea Time of the Bed
instead of Shaun of the Bed.
That Tea Time of the Bed would be the most boring of all British porn movies.
It'd be like watching.
It'd be like Downton Abbey.
Yeah,
but
just the tea time.
But just like old British people. Like,
does it come in with like smell-o-vision so you can smell the 1800s while you're watching?
Thank you.
I don't know. Someone's probably into it.
Another fun Easter egg. A lot of the zombies that are seen in the beginning, the Mary that's in the front in the first one they interact with, that gets the hole in her belly.
Yeah.
And like the big dude and a bunch of other people, they're all seen in the opening credits, doing, whatever their jobs are, like waiting
very
in line
menial zombie.
Yeah, like Mary's
things.
works at the checkout at the grocery store.
Huh.
So that's kind of a cool little deal too. Shaun works at Forey Electric. The electronics company that he works at. And that's a play on actor Ken Foree, Foree, played Peter in George Romero's Dawn of the Dead.
Oh.
So I thought that was kind of fun too.
That is fun.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like every little thing, like anytime they zoom in on something like a name tag or like look at everything, because there's
the devil is in the details.
So many little details. Like I love that. I love when directors put that much kind of effort and writers put that much kind of effort into doing this kind of stuff. There's a reference to 28 Days Later, which was a 2002 British zombie film. So this came out 2 years before this movie came out. At the end of the movie, when there's a news report that runs through and it says claims the epidemic was due to rage-infected monkeys have now been dismissed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was the plot line of
not monkeys.
28 Days Later. And 28 Days Later, I always thought was kind of pretentious because the director was like, it's not a zombie movie, not a zombie.
It's an epidemic movie.
It's an epidemic movie. And I'm like, you know what? If you got,
dude, that's like 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other.
Yeah.
Like,
if you've got something that's spread
do
to humans,
people turn into something different that kills other people?
Yeah.
Then yeah,
they're zombies.
They may be zombified.
Whatever. I think you're splitting hairs there, bud.
Yeah. Don't call it on technicality.
Yeah. I'm not.
Figure it out.
Silly. Pretty silly.
Figure it out.
A couple of Evil Dead references in the movie,
which I love.
Yeah, there's an employee named Ash that calls in sick to the electronics store.
Oh, my heart.
Which is kind of similar to an S-Mart type store.
Bruce Campbell, you are my heart.
At the end of when the roommate is in the bathroom and Shaun busts in and he's trying to and finds out he's a zombie.
Yeah.
And as he's backing out of the room, he says, "If you want to come join us," and then leaves.
Join us.
Which was with the Deadites, the Evil Dead Deadites. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that in this movie.
So good.
I love it. And actually the whole movie, Ed and Shaun's conversation in the bar when they're drunk after he breaks up with Liz and they're talking and they're, lamenting. And he's like, there's lots of other women out there, all that kind of stuff. They give the whole outline of the movie in their conversation. Like he says, tomorrow we're going to get up, we're going to have a Bloody Mary.
Oh, that's so nerdy.
And then we're going to go to the King's,
blah,
the
blah,
King's
blah.
head, something. And it's all the Bloody Mary
It's the plot.
is Mary. That's
and she's bloody and has a hole in her belly.
Yeah. The Mary zombie that's in their yard. And then it just goes through. So it literally goes through the whole plot of the movie in that conversation, which is so fun. That's so much fun.
I love things like that.
It's great. I really enjoyed this movie. I like Shaun of the Dead a lot. I'm a big fan.
You're a huge fan. It makes you squish in your neenies.
Squish in my neenies?
Squish in your neenies.
That sounds terrible. I'm pretty sure when you said that earlier, that was different.
It was different. I can't figure out what I said earlier.
In your what?
Neenies.
Where do you come up with this stuff?
I don't know. It's in my head. I just put words and sounds together.
Oof.
Like squish, just,
I don't think that one sounds really inappropriate. I don't like it.
Squish in the neenies?
Yeah.
I can't figure out what I said earlier that was so funny.
I don't know. That one doesn't land as well because that one sounds.
I tried.
That one sounds like, I don't know.
You can't win them all.
Sounds super creepy.
You can't win them all, kiddos. Sometimes you strike out and that's okay. Sometimes you throw up on yourself on a plane and that's okay too.
Oh man. This week, this episode has been so hard to make.
This episode brought to you by sheer fucking willpower.
Yeah. Lots and lots and lots.
We did it finally.
Lots and lots of failure this week.
You must fail in order to succeed, Yoda says.
Oh my goodness.
We don't have a theme for the next one yet. We haven't decided.
No, but I want to find something. We haven't got a new episode yet. I got to look up and see what's going to be next. But I want to get away from the politics.
It's not going to be identity politics. It's not going to be politics.
No
it's not going to be nationalism.
Racial
politics.
or nationalism.
We're going to go something a little bit more like.
I want cats. I want like cat mutant zombies.
Yeah.
Somebody being stabbed in the back with a corn cob. That's what I want.
Yeah. Lots of corn cop foo.
Bring back Sleepwalkers. Oh, speaking of foo, Joe Bob's new show airs on Shudder.
Joe Bob's new show.
Starting on Friday this week.
You know what you're doing Friday.
I'm very excited.
You're watching Shudder.
Joe Bob.
I cannot wait. I am so excited. And Joe Bob said that he might be coming to Reno.
Oh, that's right. He did. He sent me a message.
Show.
He sent me a message on Twitter asking about venues in Reno.
No joke. I'm still fangirling out about that. I am seriously in love with that man.
Yeah.
So let's get him here.
And I love all of his stuff.
I love it. He's
all of his
writings,
too. all of his political writings. I am a big fan.
So,
I want to start like a Joe Bobian political party.
Joe Bobians?
The Joe Bobians.
The
JBs.
Does that
sound too much like David, like the Koreshians?
Kind of. Yeah. I think you're starting a cult.
Possibly.
Is that what you're doing? Don't do that.
That's a good idea. I've always wanted to start a cult. That's a really good idea.
Have the pastoral counseling background.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And we do listen to Enough Laughs podcast on the left. We could probably figure it out.
Figure it out.
Figure it out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally figure it out.
To be fair.
So yeah, I like to be
get
out of this politics thing for a while because we're bombarded with it too much. I don't like it. I'm done.
Yep.
I'm done with turning on everything and seeing politics.
Yeah. But until our next episode.
I'm like The Thing, the like Kurt Russell in The Thing, where he's just like nobody trusts anyone
I can't
anymore.
trust anyone.
Can't trust anyone.
Anything.
Don't trust anything.
Nope.
Just whatever.
Oh, you're so jaded. It's
Yeah.
a really good color on
like
you,
you said earlier, you need to be the Sweden of British.
I need to be the Sweden of British.
When you meant to say the Switzerland
The
of
Switzerland of
Britain. Because you were
tired.
That was because you said you were neither an Anglophobe
or
nor an
Anglophilic.
Anglophile. So you're the Sweden of British.
I'm the Sweden of British.
I had to squeeze that in there somewhere. Instead of the Switzerland of Britain, You were the
Not-
Sweden of British.
Not a history major, am I? For anybody that knows me,
English?
I literally know nothing about anything but my field. And so it's really
Words
hard.
are hard.
Words are
English.
hard. Two neurons rubbing together, trying to do stuff right now. Not worky.
Not worky.
Not worky.
No
No
worky.
worky. No worky this time. Next time.
All right. So next time we are going to we're going to talk about another phobia.
Yeah.
But we don't know what it is yet.
But until then, please go check out Joe Bob on Cheddar on Friday.
Yay, Joe Bob.
Enjoy that. Get your little horror and information spill because he just knows everything about everything. And I just want to pick his brain forever.
Mm-hmm.
But
and Feardos, we are going to we're going to finally have a new episode out. Please share it. Please pass it around. Please promote it to your friends.
Please rate us.
And until next time,
stay afraid. Stay very afraid.